Today we are going to make one of the long time asked preset or the sound, and it is the sound Colyn utilizes in almost all of his tracks. There's slight changes, like sometimes he changes the LFO, sometimes he changes the effects, and sometimes he changes, I think, the oscillators, so they have slightly different timbre, but the main idea is almost always there. So I'm going to try to cover it, and we are going to make something similar to the one that he used in his track Amor. That one was actually my favorite. It really sounded super creamy, super nice. So we are going to remake that one. And before we start, actually that sound is already included in my latest preset pack that I made for Pigments. And if you don't want to follow the video, and if you just want to straight jump into the preset and use it, I will add the video here so you can take a look at that video, or I will add the link below for the preset pack. You can actually just go there and buy the preset pack and get straight into the preset. And I think in the preset pack it will be more tuned, because in the video I cannot go back and forward and fine tune the things, but I think we will get close enough. But enough talk. Let's sit down and make that beautiful preset now. What I hear sounded a bit more like a modular synth, where he actually routed things a bit differently, so that he had this bright end together with this super nice low gritty low end, but it could be completely something else, so I have no idea. But I was able to replicate most of the things in Pigments because of the routing options that we have in Pigments, so I felt like it's close enough. So the first thing that I hear when I listen to the sound is this really nice kind of FM synthesized square wave or square sound. So in Pigments, actually there is a waveform in the wavetable. If we go to the, I think, synthesizer and basic waves, and if we turn this off, you will see that we have this nice basic waves going on. But once you turn on the morph, meaning that between the different waves, wave shapes, actually the shape changes and morph to the next shape. So you can see that here from square to smaller square, we have this kind of pulse width modulation going on here. And if you try to go here, it like turns into the, let's say, sawtooth. And here, for this type of sound, I want this kind of really nice pluck sound. Let me put the notes so that we can hear how it sounds. So basically, these are the notes. I'm not 100% sure if I get the notes 100% right, but to my ears, it sounded like this. So the notes are spread quite a bit, hence we have both like a high end and low end, while you can definitely hear the separation between the notes, and it brings this kind of nice timbre to the sound. So if I play this one with the sound that we have now, it will sound like this. You hear that this square is there, but it is not enough. So we have to do quite a bit of stuff to get the sound right. The first thing is actually inside the Pigments, you can modulate, like you can have frequency modulation, you can have the phase modulation, you can have the phase distortion, and so on. For this sound, I would like to use a slightly frequency modulation, and it will turn the sound into like this. If I play one more time. Here around, the sound gets kind of a little bit gritty, a bit like weirder. And it is actually not enough. I'm also going to add a bit like phase distortion. And a bit more here. It just gets that square sound more analog, and also it gets kind of a bit weird phasing stuff on top of that. It sounds really nice. And then we are going to use a bit of unison. Like in the original track, or the original sound, you definitely hear this kind of more stereo field, this unison sound, but I'm not going to use the detune this much. Maybe we can bring a little bit down. Let's increase this stereo field a bit more. At the moment, one of the important things for this sound is actually what type of filter you are using. You can probably follow most of the steps in other wavetable synthesizers, probably in Serum, even though I would assume that the sound will be slightly different because of the filter issue and how the phase distortion and frequency modulation is actually built in the synthesizer. But for this part, we are going to use a SEM filter. I think this one sounds quite close to the original sound. It sounds really warm and thick, and we are going to give a bit of resonance. You definitely start to hear like it starts to resemble the original sound. But we almost forget one thing. In the original track, the sound was a bit high-pitched. So let's put it into 12 semitone. Here we go. Much better. And then it brings us to the LFO section. I'm going to use the function because then it gives me the opportunity the way I want to shape it. It works like LFO, but I can draw it like a bit like this. I want to have this kind of curved lead in and a bit curved out lead out. So this like sound. And this one actually goes to the cutoff here. And if I take this guy and put this function on top of, it will start to sound like this. The problem here is, I feel like in the original track, it's almost like this. So it moves all the time. So we have to play around with this rate quite a bit. I'm going to keep it here and go to my first macro. And this guy going to modulate how much we are playing around. So instead of coming back here, opening different screens, I can just play around here. We can call it LFO rate. And if I play with this now, so it's quite easy to move around once you map this one. The other thing though, is not this simple. We have to use the parallel filter, and actually we have to be a little bit careful about how the volume is automated. So what I'm going to do, push this down a little bit. And the same automation here will be also, same LFO will be also applied to the volume. So I'm going to take this and put it here. So basically what I'm trying to do is our volume envelope is also dictated by our LFO, if this makes sense. So the sound gets shorter. It just gives us the opportunity to do really whatever we want to do with this one. Decrease a bit probably, need to be that much. You can use the similar thing here because you can also modulate this auto output here. It will work that way as well, but not at the moment. The other thing that we have to play around a bit is the release, how we want the sound and when we like stop the sound. So in this case, I'm just going to increase the release a bit so that when I play around, it is not really like abruptly ending all the time. Just like that, we can even increase a bit more. And now you are thinking, okay, this doesn't really sound like the track that we were hearing, and you are completely right. And that is the reason that we need to actually utilize the second oscillator. And this time we are going to use the analog here. The main reason being is that analog has this kind of nice noise. Actually, you can decide what type of noise that you are going to use. For this track, we are going to go for a blue noise, closer to blue noise basically, and meaning that the noise itself will be much more brighter and softer. So if I play it like, let me volume this up and play with the track. It's much brighter sound. However, we don't want this sound to go into the filter. So we want this sound to go to the second part here, second oscillator, and then we're going to turn this into Sam. And if I play now, you can definitely hear that the sound is much more brighter by use of this, but this is not following the original LFO. So the same thing that we did before, we go to the function here and add this one like this. Not that much, but not that quite neither. So if I play one more, you can start to hear this like a, let me turn this to oscillator so that you can only hear the white noise. You can definitely start to hear that white noise wobbling around a little bit and really cool. We can even go a bit more blue noise. And the volume here is really important. We have to really come back and nicely shape this one. The other thing here is actually keep utilizing these oscillators in the square form. We just need to have this super low, nice, but barely there square sounds. And here, if you take a look, we are not pulling this up, so this will sound darker. So what I'm going to do, pull the volume up a little bit, and then again, the LFO goes here. So let me turn this up so that you can hear a bit more. And this sound is really bright, but it's not loud. So meaning that the high end of this sound is not really irritating our ears, and it sounds really so ever so nicely. And the same thing here, I'm gonna even put it one octave below and put a bit the same thing here, and then take my something like this. No, not the width, sorry, something like this. Let's play one more time. You definitely start to feel like how everything comes together with these square waves. And if I activate the other guy over here, and if I play one more time, the base of the sound is there. So here again, you have to go back, of course, the original track and hear a little bit more and blend them nicely so that they're in the right levels. But I think to start with, this sounds quite a bit. Maybe I can turn this a bit down a bit here. Let me play one more time. Yeah, quite cool. Other important thing in this track is actually how we utilize the effects, especially delays and reverbs, because this sound is short, they disappear, but the delay and the reverb continues and gives this really nice rich ambience. So we have to also kind of build that part. And the good thing with pigments again is that it comes with actually tape echo, which is exactly what we are looking for. This type of sound is like warm delay effect. However, I'm gonna go for full ping pong mode, and we are just going to utilize the 1/4. And if I play it one more time, it sounds like this. So you hear this like sound in the sides. So what we are going to do, we're gonna push this up a little bit more so that we can hear that more, and then we can play a bit with the intensity. Let's play one more time. That is really warm, nice sound. And afterwards, we are going to also utilize a bit of reverb and to give like this lush ambience. And I'm going to keep this here. And I want to have this really nice high end, this bright and airy part. If you use too much damping, it will make the sound a bit too dark. If I play one more time, let's do it like this. It doesn't give us this like a rich ambience. So we are going to pull it down, damping below here. And then we're going to increase the decay a bit so it's a bit longer. And then we can keep this stereo field here. And then the dry event, we are going to come back and play around a little bit. So if we play. And. Like you definitely start to hear that we are getting there. What I will do is actually, I'm not even 100% sure. Maybe we can probably ever slightly distort this. And then in the next part, I'm going to put in parametric EQ and boost a bit on the highs. Let's try. Maybe mix a bit more here. I feel like we can have a bit more squares from here. Again, this part is important, how much you are adding from each sound. Let's try one more time. Probably noise is a bit too much. Let's bring this down. Okay, it's too little. We definitely need to hear the noise. Here we go. Yeah, and most of the sound is here. We have to automate the macro one. It has to go up and down. Let me quickly do that and do a bit one by one with the original track, and let me adjust a little bit more. So I cannot play it here because of the the YouTube copyright issues and so on. But let me quickly do that and come back. All right, this is from my preset pack. I realized that I already have the fine-tuned version. There's no need to go back and forth. So if we check both of them, the main difference is, let me play this one so that you can hear the difference. Just the mix is slightly different. And if we do a bit A/B test, like what we did here, I think the cutoff opens a bit more and the sound goes a bit more than wavetable sound. The first oscillator opens up a bit more than the one that we made, and the rest is really the same idea overall. And then blending with this some nice phase distortion, nice linear modulation, and so on. And the modulation looks like this, or automation in this case. This is the the knob that we were playing, the macro. Basically, it opens and closes all the time, and it moves up and down, closes, stays, ups, and so on. And this one is actually played a lot during the track. Probably he just did it manually with his hands and then recorded like it is here. So if I play start to end, you can hear a bit better. So let's take a look. Yeah, and that was it. Again, I think this is a patch that you can learn a lot. This has some really nice routing options, and the use of LFO or function is really creative, and I think you can learn from it and make your own sounds. And yeah, I think that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. And if you did, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.